Identity shapes destiny. Become the version of you that already owns the dream. When I talk about identity, I'm talking about the invisible architecture of your life. The inner blueprint that determines how you think, how you move, how you respond when pressure hits, and what you believe you're capable of creating. Most people operate from an identity that was shaped by their past, by their pain, by their environment, by someone else's expectations. They don't realize that the identity they're living from today is not chosen, it's inherited. And when you inherit an identity instead of designing it, you live a life that feels reactive, limited, and disconnected from your true potential. But the moment you decide to become the version of you who already owns the dream, everything shifts. Not gradually, instantly. Because identity is not built in the future. Identity is claimed in the present through a decision, through a standard, through a moment where you say to yourself, I'm done living at a level that betrays who I know I could be. Becoming that version of yourself is not about fantasy or imagination. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the emotional, psychological, and physical patterns of the person who has already created what you desire. Think about it. If the future version of you has unshakable confidence, you don't wait until you achieve the goal to feel that confidence. You cultivate it now. If the future version of you is disciplined, you don't wait until life becomes easier to act with discipline. You live with discipline now. If the future version of you walks with certainty, speaks with power, protects their standards, honors their habits, and refuses to negotiate with their excuses, then you must bring those patterns into the present moment if you want your outer world to catch up. You don't become your dream by accident. You become it by identity level embodiment. Most people try to change their results without changing their identity, and that's why they bounce back to old patterns. They use willpower to push forward, but willpower is temporary. Identity is permanent. When you say, I'm a person who shows up no matter what, your brain reorganizes around that. When you say, I'm someone who follows through, your behaviors begin to match. When you say, I'm built for this, you stop entertaining the fear that once controlled you. And when you start asking, how would the version of me who already owns my dream think? How would they breathe? What would they tolerate? What would they no longer tolerate? How would they prepare? How would they respond when challenged? And then you start acting from those answers. Your life takes on a different shape. Identity is not just mindset, it's physiology, it's emotional patterning. It's the tone of your inner voice. It's the standards you enforce and the boundaries you protect. It's the energy you carry into your relationships, your work, your decisions. People underestimate the power of identity because it feels intangible, but it's the most practical force in your life. Everything you do is filtered through who you believe you are. If you believe you're someone who can influence your destiny, you'll take bold actions. If you believe you're someone who always struggles, you'll unconsciously recreate struggle. If you believe you're someone who's meant for extraordinary impact, you'll find pathways others never even see. The dream you want is waiting for an identity that can sustain it, protect it, expand it. The truth is, there is a version of you who already owns the dream. Not metaphorically, literally. That version exists in your nervous system as potential, as possibility, as a blueprint encoded in your psychology. And every time you hesitate, every time you downplay your hunger, every time you settle for less than you know you're capable of, you move further from that version. But every time you choose courage over fear, discipline over impulsivity, vision over doubt, you step closer into alignment with who you were meant to be. Identity is not built overnight. It's built through repetition of the standards you commit to. It's built every time you refuse to shrink. Every time you decide your dream is non-negotiable. Every time you silence the old story and give voice to the truth inside you. When you consistently embody the identity of the future you, your destiny has no choice but to rise to match it. Your dream is not outside you. It's a calling from within demanding a higher standard. People spend their entire lives believing their dream is something external, a goal they need to chase, a place they need to reach, a prize they must earn. They imagine it living somewhere in the distance, waiting for them once circumstances improve. They become more prepared. But that's a misunderstanding of what a dream really is. A dream isn't external, it's internal. It's not a finish line, it's a message. It's the clearest communication your soul will ever send you, whispering, sometimes shouting, that there is a higher version of you that wants to come alive. And when you ignore that calling, you don't just miss out on the dream, you disconnect from yourself. Your dream calls to you because something inside you knows you're capable of more. That knowing is not random. It's not wishful thinking. It's intelligence. It's your inner guidance system, recognizing that the life you're living is too small for the person you're becoming. And the tension you feel, the restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the hunger is not a problem. It's a signal. It's proof that your dream is demanding a higher standard from you. A standard that requires emotional maturity, courage, discipline, resilience, and radical honesty. Your dream doesn't ask you to chase it. It asks you to rise to meet it. Every dream requires an evolution of the one who holds it. It asks you to elevate your habits, upgrade your focus, cleanse your environment of anything or anyone that drains your energy. It asks you to stop lying to yourself about what you can tolerate. It asks you to let go of the old stories that were built in moments of pain or fear. It asks you to develop a relationship with uncertainty, to lean into discomfort, to embrace moments when you feel unprepared. Because the dream is not testing your worth. It's stretching your capacity. The reason your dream feels so big is not because it's impossible. It feels big because it's asking you to grow into someone who can sustain it. And growth always feels uncomfortable because it requires shedding old layers of identity, old patterns of behavior, old emotional tendencies. You can't hold a big dream with small habits. You can't live an extraordinary life with ordinary standards. You can't create expansion while clinging to contraction. The dream demands you evolve, not because you're inadequate, but because you're extraordinary. And when you finally raise your standards to match the dream, something incredible happens. You begin to attract opportunities you once thought were out of reach. You begin to see pathways that were invisible before. You begin to connect with people who resonate with your new level of energy. You begin to make decisions from a place of clarity instead of fear. You begin to live in alignment, and alignment creates momentum. Momentum creates breakthroughs. Breakthroughs create transformation. And transformation makes the dream inevitable because the dream was never separate from you. It was waiting for you to become the person who could bring it into the world.